I'd like to invite Lorenzo Rosenzweig from the Fondo Mexican Fund for the Environment, and another fund that has a long and illustrious history, as does Lorenzo.
Hello, good afternoon. Yes, I'm going to briefly talk about the experience of the Mexican Fund for the Conservation of Nature. I'm so happy to see the presentation of FUNVIO. We are FUNVIO, PROFONAMPE, and many other environmental funds. We are like brother funds in Latin America. We were designed around the same time, and we are sort of experimenting different ways of doing conservation, of working as conservation finance instruments. And this is not the presentation, but Ray briefly mentioned that we get together in a network of environmental funds that has just in Latin America close to 25 entities like this, and now we are helping get the Asia Pacific network going on. And in the past years we have been also very supportive of the African network of environmental funds. So together there's like 80 instruments like FUNVIO, like Fondo Mexicano, and like many others working, and we want to see ourselves as experimenting, ongoing instruments for conservation finance. So what I'm going to present here is a very brief overview of Fondo Mexicano, 3 funding mechanisms that we have tried, very basic ones, but that they have been evolving into a mechanism that we want to share with you called Watershed Conservation, Priority Watershed Conservation Strategy. And then at the end I will share with you a few conclusions. But before getting into the conversation of what we do, let me give you a little bit of history. We are a Mexican institution, private institution. We were designed and incorporated 20 years ago. We're celebrating this year our 20th anniversary. And in the process we have been able to get the institution capitalized with close to $125 million of endowment, and at that same period we have been able to spend close to $70 million of conservation projects on the field. We have been able to support 1,241 projects just in Mexico, working with 24 protected areas, the largest of the Mexican system of protected areas, which is 176 protected area system, and in the process we have directly benefited close to 30,000 people. In this map that you cannot appreciate very well, you can see more or less the distribution of some of the projects. As you can see, there's a strong concentration of projects in northwestern Mexico and southeastern Mexico. We have 2 marine programs, one in the Gulf of California and one in the Mesoamerican Reef, which we do in collaboration with other Mesoamerican countries like Belize, Guatemala, and Honduras. And the rest of the projects are let's say, national projects. We are having an ongoing campaign. The goal of the campaign is $100 million by 2020, so we should be increasing our endowment to close to $230 million by that time. And I'm not going to go through the names, but some of these campaigns have to do with new mechanisms for conservation. For example, the one on the upper left, the green one, is Behave. It's a new way of doing conservation with ranchers using the private protected areas mechanism. Some others are funds to do partnerships of monitoring and surveillance with the government. So we are experimenting with different mechanisms, and each of those circles represents a new fund, a new program being implemented, and the numbers represent $1 million. So let me tell you very briefly the story. We started 20 years ago with a simple call for proposals on specific and strategic issues. That was in our first stage of operation, 1996, and that we learned in the process of doing those call for proposals, always reviewed by external advisors, always very transparent, and we probably were spending between $2.5 and $3 million a year on those, and we learned that long term was key for achieving impact on the field. So that was our first mechanism. After that, we put together the Fund for Protected Areas, which is a way of doing a public partnership, public-private partnership with the government. And for many years, we did the hiring of key personnel for the protected area system, and we would pay the personnel, but the personnel was working on specific projects that were supported by the general operation plan of the reserve. So that worked for several years, and then in 2008 we changed to a scheme where we are funding one critical project per protected areas in the range of $120,000 to $150,000 per year, and that aligns very well with the management plan. The story in this partnership with the government is that we started funding like 30% of the core budget of 10 protected areas, and now, 20 years ago, we are funding with the same amount of money per protected area, again in the range of $100,000 to $120,000 per year. We are funding less than 8% of the budget. What does that mean? That the protected areas in the system has become very effective in raising additional monies, because we give them something like, it's like drip irrigation. We give them basic money, baseline budget, and that allows them to operate in a much successful way. Another example from our experiences in conservation finance, this one has had a very positive impact. It's a special fund called the Monarch Butterfly Fund, where we work in a compensation scheme with owners of the core zone where the monarch butterflies spend the winter, and by paying directly to the owners of the land and helping them do conservation activities, we have been able to reduce the deforestation rate of a 20,000 acre core zone from 500 hectares, 1,000 acres a year, to exactly nothing. So that has been quite an achievement. And of course, like conservation, you solve one problem and another one arises on the other end. Now the issue is the availability of the host plant and the migration north through US and Canada. And so now our wintering sites are fine, but there's no butterflies because we're having trouble breeding in the way up and then doing the flyback. But that's a very good example where you can see that the simple, small 7.5 million endowment producing constant cash flow for the communities has had a very positive impact in forest cover. Now, all of those things we put in a blender and we produce this project, the first of its kind, probably the largest GF project ever made. It's a $230 million project where we are combining watersheds, conservation on both coasts of Mexico, and this is the first time we do a partnership of this scale with 3 different government entities at the same time. This project combines everything. It has call for proposals for small projects, it has permanent funding for protected areas, it has monitoring from a federal, with the support of a federal institute, and it has payment for ecosystem services. But everything in the landscape, there is a watershed that is specifically was selected because of its high biodiversity values, and we're doing this in both sides. So this is, and that's what Ray asked me to share with the group, this is something that happens when you can go through the other experiences and then you can combine something in something much more complex of this scale. And this gives you an idea of the $260 million budget of such a project. This is a 5-year project, and it will leave us with an endowment of $20 million for long-term support of the initiative. Finally, his conclusions, and this is important. This project, we love acronyms. I assume you do the same. The longer the better. In this case, we choose an acronym with just C6, which is Conservación de Cuencas Costeras en el Contexto de Cambio Climático. 6 Cs. So that's our, now we call it C6, and this is the project. And it combines the capacities and permanence of civil society organizations. It combines resilience, the resilience we have discovered with public-private partnerships. It benefits stakeholders directly linked to the resources, and it has a watershed perspective on both coasts. It also benefits from the combination of different mechanisms at the same time, and is a living practice example of confluence of technical support for conservation at the landscape scale. With that experience and looking into the new campaigns, we're looking into really weird and what we call innovative things. I don't know how many of you remember the story of the dolphin-safe tuna. We're trying to put together a big partnership with cattle ranchers in northern Mexico, almost 1 million hectares, and want to do a wolf-friendly cattle and give them the possibility of increasing the price and working with private ranches and helping them do sort of like an organic sustainable ranching in northern Mexico, where ranches are huge, different from the south. So that's an initiative. The other one is the one I commented at the beginning, which is this work with private conservation schemes. And we are also looking into commercial operations of eco-lodges built in very small plots of land, but that benefit much larger plots of land, similar to a place in northeastern Canada, I believe the name is Fogo Island. So we're trying that in Baja California. And we're also building on the experience of Fondo Monarca to probably do something equivalent in the way it works with Amigos de Calakmul, one of our finest reserves in southern Mexico. All of our experiences can be sort of shared in our website, and thanks very much for your attention.